Hi everyone, and welcome to the final horoscope of the year for the week of December the 28th and January the 3rd, 2021. This horoscope is brought to you by 1millionnights.com. Now, before I take a look at the energies and the astrological aspects playing out all throughout next week, please allow me to make an announcement. Well, first of all, the free content part of our website, all the horoscopes, all the readings, the pick-a-card readings, and all the free guidance came to life around 2 years ago with the specific purpose to help each and everyone who needs a little bit of wisdom, a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of metaphysical understanding, and also profound self-knowledge to navigate through the extremely difficult karmic energies of the year 2019, and not to mention 2020, one of the most powerful years that most of us alive have experienced until now. And that comes as no surprise, because we astrologers simply knew that this was going to change absolutely everything. Well, first of all, because of the Saturn and Pluto conjunction, which happened back in January 2020, and that was a very, very rare celestial dance, and each time it happens, it changes the world and normality profoundly. And this year it was the coronavirus situation and all the crisis it triggered, which was the modus operandi of the celestial forces. And of course, there were the rest of the great celestial conversations, which were similarly as influential. The Mars and Pluto squares, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn meeting in the sky in a conjunction, the eclipses, and of course, the highlight of the show was the great conjunction in the sign of Aquarius, which took place on the 21st of December 2020. Now, without a shadow of a doubt, all of us knew that these energies are definitely going to be awakening certain people, but at the same time, that awakening has a very dear cost, because it sends us into the dark night of the soul. It triggers old wounds, old traumas, old pains to come to the surface. For some people, it will be like losing absolutely everything. A lot of psychological, mental health, material problems, obstacles, and even physical health problems for a lot of people. So this year was really, really tough and challenging. And our goal, our purpose was to just be there for everyone the best that we can. So we tried absolutely everything within our power to be there in your lives every single week, and when we could, every day even. And of course, to keep all of that totally free of all charge, free of all sacrifice from your behalf. But we have reached a moment in time in our own journeys when this is no longer possible. So 1 Million Nights is looking for sponsors. May they be other websites, other influential people, other companies, or simply individuals who can sponsor us, basically keep us alive in order for us to continue delivering our free content, our horoscopes, our readings, our guidances, because without your help and support, we will no longer be able to function. So if you'd like to sponsor us, if you'd like to collaborate, if you'd like to support our articles and free content, feel free to contact us. The contact forms can be found on our website, so just log on to 1millionnights.com and find the contact button. So now let's get back to our horoscope. Well, we have a very active but also tension at sky playing out all throughout the week. Especially Monday can be a little bit emotionally up and down, wishy-washy. We may feel a little bit lost, a little bit confused, a little bit uncertain, and that is because Neptune from its home sign of Pisces, then Venus from the sign of Sagittarius, and the Moon from Gemini, so mutable energy, are holding a T-square. And basically this means duality, but the kind of duality which is present in our minds, so Gemini, the kind of duality which is even present in our worldviews, our life philosophies, our higher thinking, so Sagittarius. This may be doubts and questions to our faith, whatever we believe in, our own personal life stories, our own principles, virtues, etc. And there is Neptune in the sign of Pisces, a very strong subconscious energy which is there, which is lurking, which is simply not resting. And when these three very powerful players in their very delicate positions in mutable signs hold a T-square, well, that can be a big emotional, psychological confusion. Of course, it is not like a vengeful or wrathful depression. It is not the most negative expression of this energy, but this is where we will have a million questions, some of them rational, some of them quite down to earth, others very, very philosophic, and then others still which we can only be answered inside of us. Neptune and Pisces, they are purely inside our souls, inside our divine spark, so it will take an inner journey for us to attempt to find some answers. And yet immersing deeply into this state is not really advised, because just as we have to stay detached from the outside world, from the drama, from all the news, from all the fake news, manipulation, all the deception, and naturally when we try to limit as much as possible contact and communication with really negative and toxic people, when the energies tend to take all of this inward, and basically it will transform all of us into a drama queen, where it is exactly us, our being, which starts to, stir up the drama. Well, then detachment can work very well, even if it's our inner world that we have to separate from, at least temporarily. Now, this doesn't mean to be ignorant and not pay attention to our thoughts and feelings, but this is more like behaving like a very diligent and patient parent, where we are both the parent but also the child. So whatever we do, we must not allow ourselves to get sucked into the inner drama. For example, Pisces, have I made all the wrong decisions all my life? Or was it some kind of divine guidance? But if it was, I still don't see the big picture. I still don't see why my life has to be like this, why things had to turn out like that. Or, the moon in the sign of Gemini, where there's also the North Node, the North Node also squaring Neptune. Well, that is basically like a million different thoughts, overthinking, where simultaneously certain thought patterns are extremely positive and constructive. They are inspiring us to do everything in our power to head towards that shining future that we know that we have to experience, we know that we have to live, we know that there's a place for us, a role for us. But of course, at the same time, there's all those fears, all those doubts, all those past programmings and conditioning. For example, education will never be good enough, or in order for us to be good enough, we have to have this degree, this experience, that apprenticeship, etc. And Venus in the sign of Sagittarius, well, when she holds a square like this, She is, extremely idealistic. She wants it all or she wants it nothing at all. If she believes in it with all her soul, all her heart, if her truth makes perfect sense, to her heart, to her feelings, and naturally to the higher octaves of the mind, well then that is, from Venus's perspective, something that has to happen. Something that is the right formula. Something that simply must work. And she won't accept anything less than what she thinks she needs to accomplish, she needs to get, she needs to achieve. So, these energies are really, really tricky, and they are like an emotional cocktail of both, strong desires, belief, faith, optimism, pure hope, but at the same time there is the other spectrum, the doubts, rationality, all the negative examples of the past. So the only way to overcome this square is for us to make a choice. Which one of these do we focus on? Do we focus on the hope, optimism, faith, even if it's a little bit too much, even if it's a little bit surrealistic? Or do we focus on the doubts and the insecurities and all the bad examples of the past? And if we choose the past, then we know that it will snowball out of control and it will lead to a breakdown. But even the heightened optimism, it is a high, so at one moment it will have a low. But as long as we try not to have very high expectations and just allow the universe to work as it can, well, that is the place of balance. By not setting sky-high standards and expectations, well then we already respect and integrate all the doubts into it, because doubts do have a very important function and role. They keep us integrated, entangled, aligned with physical reality, down to earth manners. But hopes and dreams and this faith is like the propulsion, the motivational power, which slowly but surely overcomes all the doubts, overcomes everything, but it may not happen all at once in a sudden. So all of this is a big work in progress. So if we do have to choose, well, first of all, we have to choose to be detached even from our own personal drama, and then we have to choose to stay hopeful and optimistic, because at the end of the day, the big logic in this is, well, we're all connected to the great divine intelligence, and that is no longer just something written in a book, in a sacred text. It has been proven through so many ways, in so many different circumstances, by scientists, by empirical science, that something is out there and it does have an intelligence. So if we are connected to it, well, it can overcome anything that our human conditions, human minds, human selves cannot overcome. So the question is, how do we attract that great external divine intelligence to manifest in our lives? Well, even the answer to that is quite simple. We have to embody it, we have to invite it. So what is outside there, the infinity of that intelligence, can in a second exist and work inside of us as well. And then we already have a mirror where if something happens outside, that is immediately triggered on the inside, and vice versa. And if this is used in the most positive and beneficial ways, well, that means using basically divine power to shape and bend our realities in our greatest and highest good, as long as we respect the rules and limitations. For example, karma. For example, living with the knowledge that every action has a reaction and it goes on in ripples. And that other people are basically just other projections of us. So treating others like we would treat ourselves is something that always works perfectly. It not only leads to wisdom, but it actually keeps, our lives in balance. And just as we try to minimalize all those inner energies and all those inner elements of ours which we see as weaknesses, flaws, something not so beneficial, we try to alchemize them, we try to balance them out, we try to show our very, very best. So if we do that within ourselves, then it is absolutely natural for us not to accept people who don't resonate with us in our lives. And that is not selfish whatsoever, because think about it this way, all of us can be a little bit greedy or jealous or mean or have a very strong judgment and criticism at times. And each time we choose not to express it, to just simply keep it within us, or we try our hardest to take a look at the other person where they are just a human being as well and no one's perfect, so why pass on the judgment? Now if we do that, that means that we are basically not allowing our flaws and weaknesses to dominate us, to rule us. So the same way, if we cut out a negative person, if we cut out someone who just doesn't resonate with us whatsoever, it is just like doing the inner work, not allowing that symbol of flaw or weakness or imperfection to dominate our lives. Of course, this isn't just it. There are two very beautiful, harmonious, and quite helpful celestial conversations in the sky, where Uranus forms a trine with both Mercury and the Sun in the sign of Capricorn. And this is a really, really good and helpful energy, because Uranus is very quick, it is instant, it is shocking, it is surprising. Everything can change 180 degrees in a second. And when it forms such a conversation with Mercury, well, that means good news, that means favorable communication, that means truth entering your life in the most helpful ways, that means information which you can use practically to accomplish things. It can mean learning, it can mean the help of maybe a professional who provides you with communication and knowledge, verbally or written, or simply showing you the way. But at the same time, it can also be in a different way, where it is your mind that receives the blessing of Uranus. So this energy can give birth to the biggest epiphanies, to the brightest ideas, to sudden realizations, which can help you change your situation in very significant ways, especially that both of these planets speak from earth signs, so it can influence money, finances, the management of money, investments, contracts, your work, your career. And Uranus is the planet of the future, of course, so anything that happens around this time can have a major impact on the future, even close future. So this can mean surprising job offers, opportunities, invitations, or some kind of information reaching you in an unexpected way. Yes, it does require in some way for you to step out of your comfort zone and, take a leap of faith and seize these opportunities. But even that part comes with greater ease, because it is a trine, it is a blessing. So one way or another, you will be inclined to do all of this. And Uranus trining the Sun, well, that is creativity, that is basically intelligence, the Uranian kind of intelligence, the highest cerebral functions of our brains, and even like the most constructive and helpful unconscious patterns energizing, which, create, which solve things, which do things for us, which guide us in the right direction. All of those can activate. So it's a really, really good aspect for simply luminosity. The light of the sun means clarity, it means truth, it means being in our personal power informationally. And also, the sun and Uranus, this is where our expectations, regardless if they're sky high or kept under normal circumstances, they don't matter because this is a surprise, so we can't really anticipate what's about to happen. But of course, for a lot of people, this can be like a breath of fresh air, because certain people have been stuck in a stagnation, procrastination, in a never-ending loop where nothing ever happens, no solution ever comes, and even when you have to change or modify or do something, well, it takes all the effort that you can possibly muster, and the effect is so minimal. Now, all those people can benefit from this energy because things are happening almost like on autopilot. And of course, all of this in the sign of Capricorn is a good sign, because that was the part of the sky where Saturn and Jupiter started blocking everything. And they have already moved out of there. So Mercury and the Sun transiting the sign and the path that, Jupiter and Saturn took, can all of a sudden shed light to everything and, place the intellectual power of our minds to wherever that blockage is, and we can lift it with much, much greater ease and diligence and awareness. And if Uranus sends surprising opportunities our way, well, that is even better. But of course, due to this next astrological conversation, which I'm going to be talking about right now, things might be a little bit complicated, because there is also a lot of tension, a lot of emotion, a lot of frustration and inner anger in the air. For Mars and Pluto hold for the third and final time their square. Mars being extra strong in his home sign of Aries, still in shadow and conjunct Eris, the planetoid of discord. And of course Pluto, the higher octave of Mars, in the sign which hosts it until 2024, Capricorn, a sign where it deconstructs our old normality and basically forces us to transform it, to transmute it, and build ourselves a totally new sense of normality, including its physical expression. So our lives, our homes, our daily routines, how we relate to external reality, how we relate to government, centralized power, other people, society, social structure, organizations, etc. Now, on one hand, this Mars and Pluto square is a little bit tough and strong, because it may challenge us personally, and these challenges may come from our personal lives, maybe family members, colleagues, people who are part of our lives may irritate us, may try to act all smart and all knowing. Of course, for our greatest good, for our advantage, but this might turn into a conflict, this might turn into a clash of opinions, clash of principles, clash of ideals, or we simply might feel disappointed, certain promises might not be kept. It is another very rude awakening, so to speak, that there are still a lot of problems in our lives, in the world. But this square also highlights our strength, that inner Mars, that we can overcome it, and we don't necessarily have to be aggressive, we don't necessarily have to do very extreme gestures, we don't necessarily have to start a war or keep bad feelings inside our hearts. We can just overcome it, we can just jump away from that negative state. Sometimes we can just turn our back to conflicts, to frustration, to everything that irritates us. It's not easy, but that Pluto can be our shadows, it can be our most aggressive self, which we have to temper, which we have to convince permanently to, be on our side and not against us. And Mars in its home sign of Aries, well, that can be the most angry, rageful, selfish expression of our inner child. Because a child, yes, it is pure and innocent and playful and so creative and all of that, but it can also be very, very difficult and irrational and have feelings which we as adults find it really hard to understand. But ultimately, that inner child is also us. And when it is frustrated, when it just can't go out and play, when it cannot have what it wants, well, it does stir up big drama. And this time, we truly have to be diligent parents to our own inner child and just not allow it, the tantrums, the feelings, the frustration, the irritation, to actually have any power over us. Because that is the only way we can prevent this square from making our situations much, much worse. Or actually cause us to miss out on big opportunities just because we are that angry and we see everything in red. It can also be repeating certain mistakes of the past, especially when you made certain choices or decisions out of sheer anger, vengeance, rage, etc., and things didn't turn out quite well afterwards. A situation like that one can return into your life, and it can be like a karmic test to see if you've learned enough, if you matured enough, or if you're still that angry inner child. Of course, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter are also starting to hold a square, but at this time, this square is not very strong, it is not exact. We are going to be feeling the true expression of the square in the first half, better said the first quarter of 2021, where we have quite a complicated spring ahead of us. Now, what it means personally, it is very simple. Uranus is the new whatever we have to do. It is the future. It is our future lives. It is all of our upgrades, so to speak. And Saturn is the normality. Saturn is what we have. So the two battle each other, but it's not like a fierce battle. For example, like Mars and Pluto, it is not conflict, so to speak, but it is rather a very strong need to evolve, but to keep on walking that road towards evolution by constantly getting out of our comfort zone, abandoning what comfort means to us, facing delicate and stressful situations. But it's not gonna be like 2020, because each and every time when we do something, the results are there. The results are instant. We actually accomplish whatever it is that we have to do as soon as we do the work. Where in 2020, we might have worked as much as we could and the results were merely karmic, merely a feeling, merely a symbolism, and all of that changes. So even though it's stressful, it's hard, it is soliciting, it will require us to put our minds into overdrive for all the good reasons, creativity, logic, rationality, learning, etc. But it will have results. So that is everything that we need to know. That results are gonna be born out of this work. And Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, its ancient ruling sign, is also quite beneficial. It is all about solidarity and receiving help wherever you need it the most. So if anyone needs help, the help will be there, and it can be that it's already there in this present moment in time because Saturn is already there. But what we do with the help, how we use it, how we manage it, well, that is a totally different question. That is Uranus and Taurus, whatever we are going to be experiencing through 2021, regardless of how our situations are going to be, well, it will start changing our value systems profoundly. We are going to be totally new people, not based on our own psychology and such, or our identity, but rather our value systems, what we love, what resonates, what we want to accomplish, what we want to nurture, what values we hold on a high pedestal, personally, socially, our community, our culture, etc. But of course, I'll be speaking more about this Uranus and Saturn squares as we head into 2021. Another very important celestial conversation that is taking place next week, just before the new year, on the 30th, we have a full moon in the sign of Cancer, and this full moon is sextile to Uranus, so what a wonderful energy. On one hand, the moon is going to be extremely powerful in her home sign of Cancer, and a sextile with Uranus, well, that means unexpected news, unexpected surprises, unexpected completions, unexpected change of feelings and emotions, and at the same time, the sun illuminating the moon from the opposite sign, so that means Capricorn, is not alone there. The sun is very, very close to Mercury, so this means that the opposition also is valid with Mercury, the moon and Mercury opposition. That means either a very important communication, that can mean something which forces us to make a compromise, to accept something, to integrate something in our lives, something that we may find it hard to believe, find it hard to understand or make logic of it. But anyway, this compromise, this emotional integration of whatever that is, and whatever that is has to do with some kind of either communication, news, documents, papers, status quo, for example, news from another family member, or, news about your household. Maybe some of you want to move houses, some of you want to purchase a new house, some of you want to upgrade your house, so it can be anything like that. Well, the news, whatever it is, it will be helpful in a way that it will give you a direction for the future. It will give you, for example, dates, it will give you when, it will give you the answer to how. So even if that doesn't match your future plans, well, if you already know this, you can integrate it and you can work with whatever you found out, whatever was communicated to you. From a not so material perspective, well, psychologically, this is also very good energy, because it can mean being able to process something, help, solidarity, love, support from your family coming in, from your partner. For some people, it can even be a surprise news of pregnancy, an unexpected pregnancy, unexpected fertility, childbirth. Or it can be any other good news, surprises coming from your family, from very, very close people, even from your local community or where you belong to, even at work, even any kind of group which you belong to. But of course, we are going to be speaking about this upcoming full moon in the sign of Cancer in another video. Now, on the 31st of December, just before New Year, Venus is going to be holding a square with Neptune. Now, this energy is a little bit wishy-washy, it is a little bit emotional. Venus in the sign of Sagittarius is very idealistic. She aims high, her dreams are sky high. She wants it all or she wants nothing at all. She's quite radical, extravagant, brave, courageous. She literally aims for the stars And that is how our desires, our dreams, our goals are going to be. Now, the square with Neptune can play out either way, because Neptune, on one hand, its negative expression is definitely illusion, delusion, fake information, or, when we manipulate ourselves. But on the other hand, it can also be connection to source, faith, and spirituality, the magic alive in our hearts, in our lives, or the power of our unconscious. So this can represent a very strong moment of hope, of dreams, ideals, of living a kind of miracle, a sense of bliss. But of course, none of this is as real as you feel it. So even if you immerse into it and enjoy it, it's absolutely fine. Just know that there is a low to that. It will stop at one certain moment, and you must be prepared to face reality when it happens. But it can play out in a totally different way, where your hopes and dreams are sky high, but that Neptune sends doubts. Your unconscious mind sends a lot of doubts and fears and, that urge not to believe in your dreams, not to believe in yourself, not to aim sky high, because we should know our positions, etc. But this is where, if we are able to find a middle ground between that Neptune and Venus, both of them in very idealistic, dreamy, surreal positions in the sky. So neither that Venus, neither Neptune is an authentic, down-to-earth energy. Neither of them have that much to do with physical reality. So basically, both of them just symbolize our dreams and our emotional goals, or our imagination being manifest in a different way. So that is exactly why we can alchemize it into inspiration, yes, daydreams, yes, daring to believe even in the impossible, because after all, the universe is infinite. It is capable of anything and everything. So we are not mistaking radically in our beliefs, but we also have to take into consideration that everything has its time, its means, its methodology. So if we are able to use this energy as inspiration, as dreams, as being hopeful, then it's absolutely fantastic, because there cannot be a sky-high moment when we cannot no longer see the surface. We are that lost in the clouds of our dreams, but neither will there be a low, because even if we fall, the fall is very small. So that state, holding that state in balance, the dreams, the inspiration, the magic of our fantasies, when we feel so inspired, that Venus in Sagittarius, we must allow it to actually be an inspirational force, but not something which can turn into illusion and deceiving ourselves. Now this energy is going to be changing after the new year, after the first week of New Year, when Venus is going to be holding a trine to Mars in Aries. And that is very, very important, because Mars is the activator. Mars is here now, let's do it. So whatever you might have dreamed of, contemplated of, fantasized of, and you kept it in balance, of course, well, that can very easily enter reality, because the trine is a free blessing. So either the universe just pushes you wherever you need to be and you just get it, you accomplish it, or something may enter into your life to give you the means to live your dreams, that Venus in Sagittarian type of dreams. And of course, that aspect, whenever Venus forms a harmonious, especially a supremely harmonious conversation with Mars, that is a really good romantic energy. Venus is the attractor, the passive element, the feminine. Mars is the masculine, the doer, the pursuer, the conqueror. And Venus in Sagittarius is also very important because Sagittarius does mean the whole world, international community. Physical location, physical distancing or whatever might not really be an obstacle. As long as the feeling is there, as long as the connection already took place, even if it's virtual, well, that can give birth to something really, really positive, maybe a love story, maybe a very relevant connection, social connection for your future. It can be it can be like a spiritual encounter with someone really, really significant. Sagittarius is all about faith and what we believe, religion, spirituality. And at the same time, Mercury also holds a sextile with Neptune. So what a wonderful inspirational energy. Inspiration for our mental spheres, positive thinking, optimism, good vibes running through our communications, where we can inspire other people, where we can see the good in everything and let everyone know. It is a really, really good aspect for writers, for those who work with aesthetics, for designers, for artists, especially because Mercury in the sign of Capricorn is all about the material side of things. So yes, you have the idea and the inspiration, but also you have to integrate it, give shape and form. So it's a really, really good energy. And at the same time, a totally different expression. Neptune in Pisces, compassion, unconditional love, empathy, understanding. So for those who are alone, who are helpless, who are going through a very, very difficult and tough time, help can truly come at this time. First of all, as communication, as connections. Well, this concludes your horoscope. I do hope that you enjoyed it and you found it useful. And all I can say, well, we're already in the age of Aquarius, and since we have such a very active Uranus this week, Uranus being the ruling planet of Aquarius, we can all expect a lot of synchronicities, a lot of, the matching numbers, seeing the very relevant word on the advertising panel on the street, or a card plate number, or that song on the radio. Now all these things are going to be quite tumultuous, so we have to make sure for this divine synchronicity, so to speak, not to overwhelm us. Especially if some signs are way too good to be true or others are way too scary. We must take everything with a pinch of salt. But the essence of all of this is simple. The universe is here with us. It lives and breathes through us. So of course it sends us synchronicities. That's the main idea of all of this. And of course we have to stay and remain detached, both from external drama, also from the inner drama, especially at the very beginning of the week. And last but not least, we have to prepare ourselves. Now this is truly like inner preparation to just get ready to start the big work of fixing our lives, rearranging our lives, changing our lives in a very practical sense as soon as 2021 begins. Because as I said earlier, the first 3 months are going to be extremely important, but at the same time extremely chaotic. So opportunities will come and go. Everything will be like a whirlwind where debris is everywhere, and out of that debris we have to start building for ourselves. So even though it will be hard, it will be very soliciting. The big difference is that when we do something, well, we accomplish it, we achieve it, it becomes real there and then. And that is the massive difference between this kind of crisis and the one we had in 2020 and even 2019, the past 3 years when Saturn really did some tough work in his home sign of Capricorn. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter how we feel like, it doesn't really matter how our lives are in the present moment. even if we are still in that stage where all doors, all opportunities, everything is closed, we're stagnating, it doesn't matter. We really have to prepare ourselves because it is coming. The time for us to take action, choices, options, decisions is definitely coming, and we must not allow it to hit us like a wave of tsunami. We truly have to be prepared, at least internally. Yes, absolutely. It is not a secret that very many things will not meet our expectations. Especially in the spring, it will not be just a walk in the park. It won't be very easy. Our minds are definitely gonna be challenged to their maximum capacity. We will all have to be like the best and most disciplined managers in our own lives to manage our finances, our relations, our job and personal lives and everything. And then we are also going to have Mars conjunct Uranus. And that will be a very powerful and explosive moment. And when I mean explosion, well, I mean 100% a political and social earthquake, volcano, tsunami, call it whatever you want. But it can also play out in quite a physical way, where it's actually an earthquake, an actual volcano, or an actual big natural calamity, or explosion, or a big fire erupting somewhere, because Uranus is in Taurus, is the crust of the earth and the tectonic movement and the force behind that, and Mars is definitely the igniter. And whenever Uranus is enraged, well, it can do big things, so to speak. For example, at the Beirut explosion, Uranus was exactly conjunct the 4th house, which means that the force, the eruption, the explosion came from below. So whenever Uranus is in a very delicate position, or whenever it meets a very powerful activator power player like Mars, well, it means that things happen there and then, and usually they're big. It's a big boom. But of course, we still have a lot of time until that takes place. And if you'd like to know more, if you'd like to keep on receiving this weekly updates, these weekly horoscopes and guidances, please don't forget that you can sponsor us and basically keep us alive and help us to prepare everyone who would be willing to listen to our guidance for the most important karmic themes playing out all throughout next year. Thank you again. Wish everyone a blessed, harmonious, and very, very happy New Year. May the stars and the blessing of the universe smile upon all of us. Thank you. Until next time. Bye for now.